Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Investing Club. Happy fall, everybody. I've been saying this for the past 15 episodes, but I am super excited. It's fall. It was 40 degrees here in Seattle yesterday, and I love that feeling when you go outside. It's nice and cold and crisp. You can see your breath. Get yourself a coffee. Love it. So it's a good day for a second reason. We got Mike Hoffman with us on the show. Mike is a jack of all trades in real estate. He's done it all. And so it should be a good episode to go into. We're going to try to veer into the Dadu area because I'm actually buying a house right now for my family to live in up here in Tacoma, and there's Dadu potential. So it's perfect timing. It should be a good episode. Mike, thanks for hopping on the show.
Gabe, thanks for having me, and couldn't agree more with regards to the fall weather. And yeah, definitely still my breath this morning and have a hot coffee.
There you go. I noticed your shirt. It says the Oregon. Are you down in Oregon?
Yeah, yep. Our family's here in Eugene, so we're right down on I-5 from you.
Nice. So we got the similar weather going on with us.
Absolutely.
Right. I told you before we got on here, we always like starting with stories to hear how people got to where they are. Especially in real estate, there's a diverse way to get into real estate and be successful. So why don't you take us to the beginning of your story and tell us how'd you get here?
Yeah, so my story is a little unique in that I didn't have background in real estate at all, and I was working in college athletics back in the Midwest, and literally was making $1,200 a month back in 2012. And in college athletics, I mean, your hours you're working, especially in season, we were 80 hours minimum. But
That's
long story short,
they pay for. Were you like an assistant coach or?
Yeah, I was like a young coach, just trying to earn my keep with the staff. So And anyway, long story short, I was like, I need to figure out how to earn some money with my mind, not my time. And so one of the other coaches was like, oh, I got this cash flowing rental. At the time I was living in St. Louis, and he's like, yeah, I bought it for 70 grand and I rented out for $900. And all I know about real estate is the 1% rule. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And
easy.
Sure, he's only he's like, I'm only pocketing whatever it is, like $300 a month. But that was my first. I literally took $14K out of my emergency fund to do the same exact thing with a $70,000 3-bedroom, 800 square foot rental in St. Louis. I couldn't believe it that people will just rent their whole life. And that was a crowd that, I mean, I had applicants day one that I listed that thing. It was just unreal. And same thing, it was well above the 1% rule at the time.
Yeah. That first deal that you do, I always hope that the first deal for everyone goes very well, because if you can see that little sliver of success, even if it is, $100, $200 per month, it gives you the juices, it gives you the motivation to keep going. I've heard people that they start on flips and then the first flip goes horribly, which my first flip went horribly. And it's hard to push through that. So it's great when people, you buy that first rental and you get to see those little checks coming in every single month, which gives you the motivation to say, hey, maybe I can do this a little bit bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Now I got to ask real quick, why did your flip go horribly?
Because I didn't know what I was doing. This was back in, it was back in 2014. And it was a triplex here in Tacoma, and it was pretty much what could go wrong did go wrong. We had one tenant who was a hoarder, one tenant who got angry. They had stopped paying rent, and so we evicted them, and then they got angry and they put shit down the sink and flooded the unit. And so we had to get remediation done. And then one tenant was we're pretty sure they were growing weed because the electrical bill went up to, I can't remember, it was a ton. And for some reason, when we bought the property, we didn't know about looking at leases and how they're structured. And so when we bought the property, the tenant or the landlord was on the hook for the electrical bill. And so we
Okay.
were having to pay out all this money, and so we evicted them, and just it was just a nightmare. But we did end up making a lot of money on that deal. We made about $80,000. So we were lucky because we were buying it at a time when the market was like hockey sticking. I think it was
Yeah.
2014 is when I did this in Seattle. So it was just going up and up and up. And so we bought it at the right time. Had we bought it during, a normal kind of flat market, we definitely would not have been done so well. But we got lucky, and that's half of the game in real estate is getting lucky. So
Yeah.
yeah, we did
Yeah.
make it through that first deal.
Yeah. Now
But
I'm sorry, I was just gonna, because this kind of leads me into how when we moved to Oregon, I was like, man, all the tenants have the kind of the power. Why would I like try to do something like you just did and get a duplex and live in one side if I can't even get them to evict? So I'm glad you kind of validated why we didn't go down that path and just built instead for our next project.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of potholes that you can fall into with single family and doing renovations and stuff. But Dadoos is a very popular subject up here in Seattle and Tacoma because the municipalities have been a little bit they've been kind of pushing people to build
Mhm.
more density in the area, and Dadoos is one thing that people are really fond of and going forward with a lot of the investors up here. And so it's a strategy that I've been actually looking at. We're buying another house for our family here, and there's a lot of land, and we want a place to have, our, grandma and grandpas to come and stay. And so we've been
Yeah.
thinking about doing a dadu. But I like to hear the perspective of an investor who does this. It sounds like you have experience building ADUs, building detached units.
Mhm.
What do you do? Like, how do you find them? And then how are you kind of underwriting them? Are you looking for single houses with larger lots? Are you looking for a single house with a big garage that can be converted? Or what are you looking for when you do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we look at kind of two main things. So our first project, we just found a plot of land for about $90,000. This was probably right in the middle of COVID, maybe right before like 2018, 2019. It was 100 by 100 lot of land that was clearly probably a backyard, but there was a street on the other side, kind of like where an alley would be, and they just were like clearly sectioned it off and put it up for sale. I think it was like 90,000. And the great thing is here in Oregon and Washington, there's actually a couple builders that will do what's called turnkey solutions. So like they'll handle all the permitting, they'll handle all the plans, they'll handle all. So
Nice.
what I did is I actually set up with the city house and an ADU. So here in Oregon at the time, the ADU had to be 10% smaller than the house. So I did a 3 bedroom and a 2 bedroom.
That's
One
it.
was
Just
1,200.
10%, really.
Yeah, one was 1,200 square feet and the other one was like 900.
Hmm.
And then I labeled, so on the land, it looked like two houses right next to each other. And so what we did, rather than like one in the front and one in the back, we did them side by side, fenced off the yard down the middle, and they each had their own yard, and then one big pavement up front. So it's like you just pull up, and when you're coming from the street, it literally looks like two different lots. You wouldn't even know
Huh.
because the bigger house just goes out the back farther. So we did that build. It was amazing. I mean, we did the build.
And this was in
I think.
Eugene, you mentioned?
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep. Because I was looking at kind of the what you were doing with like the value add of these duplexes and triplexes, but like just the horror stories of how do you get these tenants out or how do you raise rent out west? It's a little bit tricky. So we did this. We bought the land 90 grand. Our whole project, construction project with a local bank was all in 400K. I think we put down maybe 10%, so 40K. We got two tenants, a 3 bedroom tenant and a 2 bedroom tenant. And because they were brand new, we were able to get above 1%. So we were making about $4,200 a month, which was unheard of here in Eugene because
4,200 in cash flow?
4,200 all in on rents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So,
Got you. Okay.
yeah, 3 bedroom was rented out for like 2550 and the 2 bedroom was like 1,700 or something.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, and then literally I got an off the market offer for that less than 2 years later for 650K. So it was like Okay. And I just 1031 it into an Airbnb in Florida at the time.
Nice. So,
Yeah.
has this become kind of a strategy that you implement, consistently? Are you looking for larger lots, or how has it kind of progressed since
Yeah,
then?
we're looking for lots or like these big yards that people are now like, wow, I can get 100 grand for my backyard type of thing. But the other thing we're looking at a lot of is these one bedroom homes with big lots, like flag lot abilities. And so we've been looking at those. We haven't pulled the trigger just because, the utility hookup and getting like power and fire access and all of that can be a little bit tricky. We almost made an offer on one and then passed because like the tree was, whatever 100-year-old trees. So the city, so that we've had a couple like roadblocks on that, but we are doing a big annexation project here in Oregon as well, where we bought a house with a massive lot. And we're going to tear it down and do four duplexes, all sectioned separately. So if we want to sell one off at a time, so it'll be 8 total units.
Interesting. How has the take us through the process? Because I know Oregon is similar to Washington in the permitting process and in terms of how difficult it is to get something through. So
Yeah.
how has that gone for you? Are you running through the permit process, or is this handled by your builder?
Yeah, we actually hired a consultant to run through everything with the city and the county and the people that have the relationships, and we're kind of like trying to be as we're willing to pay to kind of get through that pain. But like the build I did with the house in the ADU, I just of that 400K, I just paid an extra 15K of turnkey for they handled all the permits, they handled all the excavation, they handled all the coordination with the utilities people, the even the little things like putting a porta potty on site and like things that you don't even think of that come up. And that was the best 15K of that 400K project I could, and you just wrap it into the loan like that I could have ever it was totally out of sight, out of mind. And then they would just come to you and be like, hey, it's time to pick out cabinetry or
Yeah, you get to do the fun
counters or,
stuff.
yeah, you do the fun stuff and you don't have to worry about the headaches of like, hey, the city didn't approve this outlet over here.
Right, exactly. So take us through you mentioned you're doing an 8 unit right now. You bought a large lot, you're tearing it down, and you're going to build. Take us through
Mhm.
nuts to bolts. How'd you find it? What was the take us through the underwriting of it, and then how has it gone since then? Have you guys broke ground on this project?
We have not broken ground, so we're going through the annexation right now, and we still have a tenant in the property that's kind of floating while we figure out all of the. We have some lot designs and everything, but we're going back and forth with the city on like where we're going to put the stormwater, like the easement access, all that kind of fun stuff right now. But that project should be done by 2025. We just bought that house probably 3 months ago. And it was probably, I think, all in around 430K house and lot. And then, each duplex, we right now the market's around 450. So it could be 500 or it could be 400 next year for each duplex. So but we're not planning on selling them off right when they're built. Like we're just gonna sit and hold them. They're in a college town. So there's some flexibility there with teachers and things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, take us through it. How'd you find it? Give us the
Yeah.
underwriting scoop. Like what are you in for all in terms of cash that you're putting into the project, and what are you expecting on the back end?
Yeah, so I found this deal through the guy that runs the kind of real estate social group here in the Willamette Valley. So he is a huge Ducks fan. I actually sat next to him on a flight to an Oregon game last year. Totally had no idea who he was. We got talking real estate like you and I, and next thing you know, he sends me a deal that's like, hey, do you want to go in on this? Like,
Jumping
I'll
in
do all
here
the
for a
leg.
second. This is a good illustration of why real estate is all about relationships. And if you guys are just out there talking with people, if you're going to conferences, if you're just talking about what you do, eventually things will come. I'm telling you, it's crazy where deals come from, where capital partners come from, where lending comes from. It's never exactly where you think. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes you're dialing for dollars, you're dialing, with a specific intention, but most of the time deals just kind of come out of the woodwork, and it's just in random conversations that you have. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, because that's a good illustration of the randomness of real estate that sometimes happens. So keep going.
Yeah. No, well, you're spot on, Gabe. Like that's what I am super passionate about is it's not what you know. It's all about who you know. And in this case, I met this guy on an airplane on the way to a game. And then, 3 months later, he hits me up about this property. He's like, hey, there's something here. We can fit 8 units on it. The project was, I think we got the house for like 400,000. So let's just say with closing costs with 20% down, we put in 100K. I was more of like a silent investor that put in a majority of the capital, but he was going to do a lot of the legwork with the finding the consultants with the city and the stormwater and things like that. So our build estimate, I think, is going to be around 200 and let's just say 250K a unit. So, or sorry, 250K a duplex. So,
So
2 units.
1
So
million.
1 million plus the 100K down of the 400. So we're looking at I think when we're all done with the build, we're projecting it to be about 3.2 million.
And so you're all in. You put 100,000 down to buy the property, and
Yep.
then how much did you put down for the construction loan?
Well, I don't think we're going to have to put down any because the lender told us when we get this thing demolished, the value of the land for the ability to build 8 units will be so high that like the way it will be all set up for development that we won't like basically the appreciation difference will be our down payment for the build.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that happen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So and we were trying to do like a local bank and then they were like, this is a little probably not as conservative as we want. So we actually went down the hard money lending route. And again, back to who you know, it was a gentleman that comes to these monthly REIT meetups and he was all about it. We got a great terms out of it. And he's the one that's like, yeah, when we get to the construction, we'll just run a new evaluation on the land and you shouldn't have to put anything down on the construction.
That's interesting. It's funny how it's all in the strategy that you're going for. As a single family, it's worth 400,000, but if you tear the single family down, it's probably worth
Yeah.
more because of the potential for the eightplex or the 8 units.
Yeah. Well, and out here out west, right? Like your triplex horror story, right now they're trying to get people to build. They're trying to
Mhm.
get you to build in I mean, you were talking about it. They're trying to get you to turn that garage into a Bend, Oregon 3 condo 80. Like there's not enough supply at all.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you're looking at towards the center of the population mass, they're really hurting for units. So
Mhm.
yeah, makes sense. All right, I just took
Yeah.
a peek at the clock, and I know you got a lot more experience to go into, but we this is a short podcast, so we have run down our timer. Before we move on, though, I do want to touch just slightly on your vending machine business. This is not related to real estate, but it's super interesting because I have thought about businesses that I want to try to start with my daughter when she's older, and a vending machine business just sounds like something that would be fun to do with my daughter. And I've always been kind of intrigued with them. It sounds like an interesting business to start. So how'd you get into that one? And then just tell us, just a high level, how it goes and what it's like to run the business.
Yeah, so one, I think you're in the perfect market to start one. Yeah, every time because I used to come up to JBLM all the time and stay in Tacoma and stay in the area, and I'd always like, man, all these like places around, Olympia and Tacoma, I would crush it. But two, there's no easier way to teach your kids supply and demand than a vending machine, and I come back to literally Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. They're like, oh, what do you look for in a CEO? And their first comment was, did they own a lemonade stand when they were a kid? And like, to me, that's like the same thing with vending. Like Warren Buffett's first investment was a vending machine, a pinball machine when he was 17 years old, and he regrets selling it because the cash flow was so consistent, but he was so young and dumb he didn't know the importance of cash flow. So I actually got into vending One, I travel a lot and I go to airports and see what's out there. And then I'd be like, why am I paying $6 for a bottle of water I know costs $1 at Costco? But the power of convenience in an airport. And then two, there was no one selling that to me. It was a machine. So clearly this guy's margins were through the roof. And I loved everything about that idea. I think there's a perfect storm right now with unattended retail. Walgreens just announced yesterday they're shutting down 1,200 stores. Well, a lot of our micro markets, we have tampons, laundry pods. It's not just Snickers and Diet Cokes from the vending machines of the 80s. So it's a prime disruption in the market with unattended retail and just like smart coolers. And if it fits on a shelf, it's not, does it fit in a vending motor? Gone are the days of entering in the code to get whatever you want. You just unlock the door with your credit card and grab whatever you want and walk away. So I'm a little bullish on it. I also, vending machines are like cars. If you find a location that needs one, you just finance it at whatever terms, no money down, and you're cash flowing more than your rental property. So your
Oh, no
capital
shit.
goes a lot. Oh yeah, your
You
capital goes way farther.
you can finance them with no money down?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll
Does
do
that include
no.
supplies or
No,
inventory, I mean?
supply. No, but inventory is only around $300 the first time, and then you got to keep in mind it's not like it's Amazon FBA. Whatever you buy the second time for inventory is based off what you sold from the first time at 3x the price you bought it for. So all
Huh.
in, you can get going for 500-600 bucks, and a lot of these machine companies won't even charge you for a couple months. Like they'll let you get a couple months of sales going before your monthly payment.
Interesting. And so what when I think of vending machines, obviously the thing that pops into my head is refrigerated vending. It sounds like you're doing non-refrigerated. Am I correct there? Or
I'm
just like,
I'm doing more like micro markets. So like think of you go into a Marriott and they have the little grab and go there.
mm,
So nowadays they have like locked uh uh fridges or locked shelves with AI cameras that will the door will unlock with your credit card or your Apple Pay. Whatever you walk out with will be charged to that card.
interesting. Huh. Man, I
Yeah.
would love to learn more about that. Maybe we'll have to talk off the podcast, but that's something that that again would
Yeah.
be fun to
Yeah.
start with my daughter when she's a little older. But for now, let's move on to the quick question round. Are you ready?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. It starts with education. I just need two recommendations, and this can be any form of education. Could be a movie that you saw, could be a book you read, could be a conference you went to. But I need two of them, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Oof, put me on the spot. So, general life wisdom. I'm gonna go the old school book route and recommend a book called Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. I think it's an amazing book that brings back like the old school mentality of consistency, being uncomfortable. It's not a leadership rah-rah book. It's literally like, oh, do you know why rucking is so historic and why people plunged in cold water back in the 1700s? Just bringing back the why behind things where now it's like, oh, you got the sexy cold tub, but you can just go in the sound and get the same effect. And why would you do that? And so I really like the Comfort Crisis and all about getting uncomfortable. As far as real estate, I grew up during like the bigger pockets heyday. But I'm more of a you just got to kind of jump in with people that think like you were saying earlier, with who I didn't my that annexation project, I didn't know that guy. We sat on a plane together, but we had the same ideas of like, we don't want to wait till we're 65 to retire. Like this project we're doing, I mean, we might make 2 million off of it over 18 months, which is absolutely absurd. Like that's just, and I just think I wouldn't have done that if I didn't meet him through this monthly hangout that was awkward to go to the first time, but once you do it, you're so glad you did it. So just kind of lean into the uncomfortable ability to meet people, and yeah, I think that's where your net worth is your network.
Awesome. All right, next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the version of you who is just getting started in real estate. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Um, the there's probably two. I think the first one is consistency is king. The tortoise always wins the race, and then the second one is professional persistence will always set you ahead of others. Like people are scared to send that cold email, to do that cold outreach, to take that shot to a mentor that they want to get to know or get in the room with. And those that do take that shot are ultimately the only way you can make it.
Nice. Consistency is king. I really like that. And it's so true. It's I mean, I have a real hard time with the shiny object syndrome, especially in real estate, because there's so many ways to do it, so many strategies to go about. And I keep reminding myself, hey, just get good at one, and then eventually you can move on to something else once you've really mastered self-storage or really mastered RVs or dadoos or whatever it is. So I like that. Consistency is king. Choose your route and stick to it. Next question is about the US. It's a big place. There is a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
Ooh, I'm not really metro dependent. We got the build here in Oregon, the Airbnb we got in Florida was sight unseen, and that thing does 150 kW, like W9, just from short-term rentals every year. So I'm more, kind of what do you know, and start out niche, like what you were saying earlier. I'm intrigued by what you did with your triplex in Tacoma, but I don't know that. And now hearing your horror story, it's like you're kind of validating I need to stay in my lane. So I'm not big into like, oh, Tacoma's going to boom, or Oregon, all the California people are leaving, or I'm right now I'm looking into these midterm rentals in the Midwest right next to hospitals, not because I believe Omaha is going to boom, but because I believe like traveling nurses are not going to go away. And if it's next to a good hospital, like people are going to come to it.
Yep. Yeah, that is a great strategy, and something that a number of people have come on here do. Universities and hospitals, is they just focus on those, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, next question is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So what's your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
Networking. Absolutely. I'm not a guy that sure I'll scroll through Zillow like my wife scrolls through Instagram, but I mean, Zillow is not, if I'm on Zillow, you have Zillow, everyone has Zillow type of thing. So I think for me it's networking, and then if you just find an opportunity, you're gonna have to prance on it.
Yep. Networking is definitely the way to go, and it's also the most fun way to find deals
Yeah.
and build your network, is just going out there and talking to people. You can
Yep.
definitely send texts and send mailers, but it's not as fun. I'll tell you that much. Next question is lessons learned. Not every deal that we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, most of the time something goes wrong, and we get to learn a lesson. So, what was a deal that went a little bit sideways for you, and then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
Yeah, it hasn't gone sideways in that the deal went sideways, but our rental just got hit by a hurricane last week.
Oh,
So,
oof. Is it
I
local?
think, yep,
Mm,
I think like anything, there's risk, and just kind of bringing back to reality, like what are you gonna do? Like what you went through in Tacoma, you just in the moment when you're going through all the remediation and all of the drama, it's just like you just got to kind of bring yourself back to neutral and kind of just ride it out type of thing. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Um, you're going to have CapEx expenses. You're going to have all these things that come up that weren't on your projected P&L. No P&L is the same as what was projected. So you just got to accept that.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the the most kind of unsung benefits of getting into real estate is it makes it so that your emotional life takes more of a especially in business, takes more of an even keeled approach, because things will go wrong, things will go great, it'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go sideways, and every way everything pops out of the woodwork, and you just can't know exactly what will happen. And so if you do that, if you go into real estate enough, eventually you just kind of realize, like, hey, I can handle this. It's just another problem that I got to solve, and it's no big deal. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like,
that.
Oh, go ahead.
Keep going.
Well, what's the best advice I got on real estate compared to the stock market is, like, real estate forces you to take the emotions out of it. Like, the minute we found out Hurricane Milton was headed to our house, it's not like we could be like, sell off right away. It's like, we got to ride this
Let's deal.
out. We're in deep with it, but coming out the other side of it, it could have been worse. Like, just like what, you can't really act emotionally with real estate, because by the time, whatever, you're trying to time the market, there is no timing the market as urgent and emotional as, like, day trading.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right, that leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, so they can find me, obviously, MrPassive.com. If you are on X or Twitter, like, that's probably where I post my most content, which is, I think, Mr. Passive underscore, or if you just type in Mr. Passive, you'll find me on X. And I post some stuff on there about real estate vending, life, health, all the things that I'm very passionate about. So feel free to reach out anytime. And I'm a big believer in kind of networking and learning what other people are doing too.
Sweet. I'll put that link in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out, just click a little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description, and in there you can find Mike's link. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Thanks, Gabe. That was fun, man. And let me know when you have more thoughts about vending, because I'll definitely help however I can.
Sounds good. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at gabe@therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.